Personal growth advice sounds, it sounds pretty exhausting, doesn't it?
Oh, totally.
You're always told to, grit your teeth, track every single failure, and basically wage this endless war against your bad
It
habits.
really is exhausting. And we are just wired to think that progress requires constant friction. The assumption is that basically if you aren't struggling, well, you aren't really trying.
Right, exactly. Which is, I think, what makes the framework we're looking at today so striking. We are diving into a specific daily devotional from Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris.
Yeah, it's a fascinating text.
It is, and it tackles this really universal human struggle against negative desires and external pressures, but it proposes a completely counterintuitive solution, which is to just stop fighting.
Stop fighting entirely. The text basically argues that our usual approach to temptation is, well, completely backward. But to really understand the solution, we first have to look at how it breaks down the problem.
Break that down for us. How does it categorize things?
Right, so it categorizes our struggles into three very distinct mechanisms. It argues that the flesh attacks us through desire.
Oh, through desire. Okay.
Yeah, and then the world attacks us through external influence.
Right.
And finally, temptation operates through an internal inclination.
Yeah.
So it's a highly systematic way of looking at exactly how we, get pulled off track.
So desire, external pressure, and that internal lean toward bad choices. Usually the standard advice to fix those is to, fight the desire, ignore the pressure, and just suppress the inclination.
Exactly. But here is where the text pivots. It points to a directive from Galatians 5.16, which is to walk in the Spirit. The core claim here is that if you do this, you effortlessly express the life of your, to use their phrase, recreated human spirit.
Wait, hold on. What exactly is a recreated human spirit in plain English? Because that sounds pretty heavy on the theology.
It does sound heavy, yeah. Think of it as a fundamental rewrite of your core nature. The text suggests that you aren't just like a flawed person trying really hard to behave well. Your actual base level programming has been rewritten to be inherently positive.
Okay, let's unpack this. So it's almost like a smartphone operating system, right?
Yeah.
Instead of constantly playing whack-a-mole and manually force closing every bad app.
Like jealousy or greed.
Right, jealousy, anger, greed. Instead of force closing those, you just install a completely different operating system where those bad apps aren't even compatible. Like they just crash upon opening.
The incompatibility is the key. You aren't actively resisting the old environment. You are simply operating in a new one. The text is very clear that walking in the Spirit isn't a defensive strategy.
Right.
It's just an effortless expression of what you fundamentally are.
But see, here's my hang-up with this. How does the text justify this total lack of struggle? Because, on a random Tuesday when I'm super stressed at work, it certainly feels like a battle.
Oh, for sure. It feels like a battle because we assume the enemy is still active. But the devotional makes a pretty radical claim here. It says the war is already over.
Really? The war is over.
Yeah. It uses scripture to argue that the flesh is already crucified, the world is already overcome, and the devil is definitively defeated.
Wait, so I'm basically choosing to fight an enemy that isn't even on the battlefield anymore.
According to this framework, yes. It argues that Christianity isn't a religion or, a constant struggle with sin. It actually refers to it as a transcendent life.
A transcendent life.
Right. The goal isn't to fight defeated enemies. It's simply to yield to the word. And when you yield, the fruits of the Spirit, like love, joy, peace, gentleness, goodness, temperance, they just flow naturally from within.
Okay, I need to push back on that a little bit. If the devil is defeated and my bad desires are totally crucified, why does the text also say believers must be consciously and consistently instructed to walk in the Spirit?
That's a really good question.
Is it an effortless default state or is it a conscious daily choice? Because it kind of feels like it can't really be both, can it?
It seems like a paradox, I know, but the text resolves it through the mechanics of yielding. Think about floating in water.
Okay, floating.
The buoyancy does all the work, right? Floating is an effortless state, but you still have to consciously choose to stop thrashing around.
Oh, wow.
Right. When you yield, traits like patience, peace, and gentleness flow out naturally. The effort isn't in manufacturing those good traits. The effort is just the daily conscious choice to stop thrashing.
You're just choosing which operating system to boot up, and once it's running, the output basically handles itself.
Precisely. It
Yeah.
completely dismantles that exhausting battlefield mentality. You aren't trying to achieve a victory. You are operating from a victory that already happened.
So instead of a grueling, teeth-gritting marathon, Spiritual triumph is just a daily conscious yielding to let your true nature take the wheel.
Exactly.
And by the way, if you want to explore the source text and this framework yourself, you can find it at www.rhapsodyofrealities.org.
It really is a fascinating shift in perspective, moving from behavior modification to identity realization.
It really is.
Yeah.
Which leaves us with something really interesting to think about as we wrap up. If manifesting traits like patience, gentleness, and self-control is actually the effortless expression of your true core nature.
Right, rather than some forced behavior you have to constantly micromanage.
Exactly. How might viewing those traits as your absolute default setting completely change the way you react to your next high-stress situation?
We trust you were blessed by this episode. To gain unlimited access to Rhapsody of Realities by Pastor Chris, please download the Rhapsody app using the link myapp.rhapsodyofrealities.org. God bless you.